Hello, everyone. I'm David John Sponheim, and this is Sarah Hart, and we are America's Third Party.
Tonight we're talking about the Ocean Pipeline project that we propose.
We came up with this concept driving across country in 2005. Sarah and I were looking at all these places that people could easily build a house if only they had fresh water.
And in these areas, I was looking out and I saw lots of gas pipes. They pump out natural gas in these areas like South Dakota, North Dakota, places like that, but yet there's no water.
No water.
And yet the earth is covered 70% by salt water.
And the fact is, 72% of the Earth's surface covered with salt water. We don't have enough fresh water to supply, like the people in California growing things. Central California still has water shortages. There's water shortage out in the middle of the desert, especially on the way to Vegas. And there's talk about Vegas running out of water too eventually, the way it's going. We think that water reclamation and a seawater pipeline or an ocean pipeline like we're proposing would be really great for the future and would put us ahead of other countries. Because believe me, there's nothing worse than running out of water. It's even worse than running out of oil. Running out of water being it's the lifeblood of all of our bodies. Our bodies are comprised of water and we need water, so we have to actually create water. And this way we're going to create water by simply desalinating it over a long distance. Now
First we'll pump it in.
We'll
pump in the salt water. We can use high, which is a HDPE, which is high density propylethylene pipes, so that they won't corrode. Their plastic and they're super thick plastic. And then we can pump that inland, and then we can pump it into a swill, a container like the one that we're showing behind our heads.
Yes. Now the concept involves passive desalination. And passive desalination is an idea that's been around for 1,000 years. The Aborigines in Australia used the same concept. They took large leaves and set them over seawater to have evaporation go to the leaf, and then dripping down from the leaf would be fresh water, and that's what they lived on when there was absolutely no water at all. This is a concept that many people have been thinking would be great. I talked to a guy who is doing a similar project in Australia right now.
And there's a pipeline.
There's the pipeline behind us.
In a second.
Let's take a look. I'm going to shrink our view of us. We're going to be two little people sitting in the pipeline now. Are you ready for
Okay,
this?
so we're in the middle of the pipeline, and you notice behind us it's a little bit darker blue
Right
than
here.
off to the sides. Well, the darker blue would represent the salt water that we pump in.
That's right. The salt water comes in with solar water pumps. They pump it through this module. This module itself is about 6 feet wide by 10 feet in length and about 5 feet in height. And these modules linked together across a long distance could be an amazing source of water. You could get about 200,000 gallons of water a day if you had a pipeline running from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, for instance. 200,000 gallons of water per day would not only serve Las Vegas, but it would serve Flagstaff, Tucson, and Phoenix. So we're talking about a huge backbone of renewable and recyclable energy and water coming from this project. This is a concept that would very well keep our nation going in the event of a major disaster as well.
So the concept's pretty simple. The salt water comes into the center, and then with the energy of the sun, it evaporates. And as it evaporates, it condenses along the rooftop and then flows into these side troughs, like right over here.
That's
and
right.
So the side trough will be holding fresh water that's totally been desalinated, and that is drinkable.
Mr. Bumpus over in one of our rooms, who we met last summer, by the way, in Cleveland. Thank you, Mr. Bumpus. He said the passive pipeline could be incorporated into a system of greenhouses for water and food, and you're right.
Exactly.
We could grow vegetables, we can grow shellfish could be grown in the seawater part, and we have other ideas like swills, evaporation swills that could evaporate large areas like an acre in size.
And
So not only the pipeline could be evaporating, but the swills could be evaporating, and we could raise shellfish like shrimp as well.
Or even just regular fish.
Or even regular
now,
fish. Yeah.
Somebody in our chat room also says this could solve the rising sea levels due to melting ice caps as well.
It could. You're
because
right.
then we can actually use the salt water as it's rising to turn into fresh water. And who will pay for this pipeline? More taxes, eh?
No.
What will be the funding source? Asked one of our chatters.
Sure. Well, the funding source is going to be renewable energy savings bonds.
So only people who actually believe in the project will invest in the project through renewable energy savings bonds.
Yep.
And so it's much like the war bonds of the 1940s and 1950s, where they actually helped to fund the war. These
Right.
will help fund the ocean pipeline project.
And any other project that would generate a lot of fresh water. Now remember, water is going to be like the oil of tomorrow. There's going to be a shortage of water, I can assure you, and we're seeing a lot of solar activity right now in the sun. It's producing some strange solar flares. Whatever is happening right now in 2013 with the sun, scientists are trying to digest. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Apparently, the sun is active right now with more solar flares than ever before, and we're thinking that it could affect any number of things. Obviously, making it hotter. That's one of the byproducts of a solar flare. Let me give you guys an example of what the sun does. See that solar flare that's pretty much giving you a suntan right now, Sarah?
Yeah, exactly.
That solar flare right there is something that is 80, 90 times the size of the Earth. It's huge. And these are happening all the time, and they directly affect the temperature, global climate conditions. We're experiencing strange things in terms of early springs have been noted in the past few years, and we've seen a variety of dehydration, evaporation problems going on the Earth's surface. This could be a result of the greenhouse effect. It could also be a result of solar activity. Either way, we are going to have to face up to this, and we're going to have to get something that will resist the potential for huge weather changes. Farmers rely on pretty basic weather changes, and if changes occur too much, farmers can't grow their food. There was a massive drought a couple of years ago in all throughout the country in the corn crop. 50% of the corn crop died. I think it was last summer, in fact. Our corn crop had a very bad summer last summer. Not this summer, but last summer. So these kinds of effects are dangerous and can ultimately be prevented with something like the Ocean Pipeline Project, because we'll have a regular supply of fresh water. Are you with us?
Exactly. I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
I know you like to have longer videos, but I think that's nice, sweet,
Yeah,
short.
we'll just keep it simple, and be sure to watch our show and catch live chat every single night. Tonight is Technology Night. We're going to be doing some other discussions of all the brand new wafer technologies that we're using, like tablets, and we're improving our ability to communicate. So let's see how technology advances us toward a better country, shall we?
Definitely. Thank you.